My name is James, and I want to share a story about how I married a woman with a dark past. It's not the kind of story I thought I would ever have to tell, but it's the truth, and I think it might help someone else who is going through a difficult time in their relationship. I've learned a lot, and while the journey has been tough, I've grown stronger. When I first met Rachel, I thought she was perfect. She was beautiful, kind, and seemed to have everything together. I had always believed that if two people loved each other enough, nothing else mattered. We started dating and everything seemed to fall into place. She was fun to be around, always making me laugh, and I loved her sense of adventure. We would talk for hours, and it felt like we had known each other forever. But as time went on, something changed. And it took me a long time to understand what that something was. It started with little things at first. Rachel would often get quiet when we talked about family or her childhood. She would smile and tell me that everything was fine, but there was always a hesitation in her voice. At the time, I thought it was just her being private. I respected her boundaries, so I didn't push her to talk about it. One weekend, we decided to take a trip to the beach. We had been planning it for weeks, and I was excited. But when we got there, I noticed something strange. Rachel suddenly became very distant. She didn't want to walk along the shore with me, and when I suggested we go out to a nearby cafe, she immediately said, "Let's just stay in the car." She looked uncomfortable, and I couldn't understand why. I tried to talk to her about it, but she brushed me off. "I'm just tired," she said, but I could tell something else was going on. It was a strange feeling. It was the first time I really felt like I didn't know her as well as I thought I did. Escalation. Over the next few weeks, Rachel became even more distant. She would spend more time on her phone, checking messages, and when I asked her about them, she would quickly put the phone away and say, "Just work stuff." But I knew something was off. She wasn't the same person I had fallen in love with. There were times when I would come home from work, and she wouldn't even be there. She would just leave a note saying she was out for a walk or had errands to run. I began to feel like I was losing her. At first, I told myself I was just being paranoid, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. She wasn't the happy, outgoing woman I had married. She had become someone I didn't recognize. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, I came home to find Rachel crying on the couch. I sat beside her, asking her what was wrong, but she shook her head and said, "Nothing, James. Everything's fine." But her voice trembled, and I could tell it wasn't true. It wasn't until a few months later that I discovered the truth. I had gone out of town for work and left Rachel alone at the house. When I came back, I noticed that there was something different. The house felt colder, quieter, like the life in it had been drained. And then, I saw a letter on the coffee table. It was from a man named David. The letter was dated a few years ago and was written in a very personal, heartfelt way. David had written about their past relationship, and he had expressed regret about how things had ended. The letter was full of pain, anger, and love, and it was clear that Rachel had been deeply involved with him. As I read through the letter, I began to feel a knot in my stomach. Who was this man? And why was Rachel hiding this part of her life from me? When I confronted her that evening, Rachel was quiet for a long time. She finally spoke, her voice low and shaky. "James, I should have told you about David. But I was scared that if you knew, you wouldn't want to be with me." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. David and I were in love, but it ended badly. I did things I regret, and I hurt him. I didn't want to carry that pain into our marriage, so I kept it hidden. But now, I see that I've only made things worse. Rachel explained that she and David had been together for a long time. Their relationship was intense, full of passion and love, but also filled with mistakes and broken promises. Rachel had made some poor choices that led to their breakup, and she had never truly forgiven herself for the way things ended. "It was my fault," she said, choking on her words. "I left him without an explanation. I hurt him so badly that it changed him. And now, I can't stop thinking about what I did." As she spoke, I felt a mixture of emotions. I was hurt, yes. I was angry, confused, and heartbroken. But I also felt a deep sadness for her. She was carrying so much guilt and pain, and it was clear she had never let go of it. I understood why she hadn't wanted to talk about it. But I also knew that we couldn't move forward without facing the truth. "I didn't want to tell you, James," she continued, wiping away tears. "I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could bury it, but it's like it's always there, haunting me. And now it's affecting our marriage. I'm so sorry." Rachel's past didn't just affect her, it began to affect our relationship and the people around us. Her guilt and unresolved emotions created a wall between us, and no matter how much I tried to comfort her, it felt like I was losing her. I didn't know how to help her move on from the past. I didn't know how to fix the pain that David's letter had reopened. We started drifting apart. I could see the toll it was taking on her, but I didn't know how to reach her. I tried to be patient, tried to give her space, but the silence between us grew. We would have moments where it seemed like everything was okay, but then the weight of her past would come crashing down again. It wasn't just affecting our marriage, it was also affecting Rachel's relationship with her family and friends. They noticed the changes in her, too. She became withdrawn, avoiding social gatherings and spending more time alone. Her parents and friends would ask me what was going on, but I didn't have any answers. Rachel didn't want to talk to anyone about it. In the end, things didn't magically get better. Rachel and I tried to work through her past, but the scars were still there. I wanted to help her, but sometimes it felt like I was the one who needed help. It was hard to be with someone who was so burdened by guilt, and it took a toll on me as well. I loved her, but I didn't know how to fix what was broken. We're still together, but I'm not sure where we're going. Rachel is trying, and I'm trying, but we both know that the past is something that can't be easily forgotten. Sometimes, I wonder if I made a mistake marrying her. But then again, love isn't always simple. People have their pasts, and sometimes, those pasts shape who they are. Have you ever had to face something from your partner's past? How did you deal with it? Or have you ever had something in your own past that affected your relationship? I would love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment below, share your experiences, and let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with others. Thanks for listening.